Coming up, Heads Up, we check out the MyGoFlight HUD.
A flight to Wallops Island and a NASA project that may improve icing forecasts.
And getting artful and historic. AOPA Live this week begins in just a moment.
This is AOPA Live This Week with Alyssa Cobb and Warren Morningstar filling in for Tom Haynes.
It's a huge innovation to fit in a tiny space.
Big things can come in small packages, and Garmin has just come up with a way to put more in your panel than you ever thought possible. This is the GI 275. It fits right inside a standard 3-inch flight instrument cutout and can replace any of your old flight instruments. But according to Garmin, this little changeling can do so much more. It can replace your attitude indicator and show altitude, airspeed, and heading, even synthetic vision. It can also work as an HSI and show a moving map, weather, traffic, and terrain. Another configuration gives you engine information. The GI 275 has Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. It will connect to most GPS units and autopilots as well. Prices start at just under $4,000, but varies on what the unit is configured to do. Well, how cool is that? I mean, that is something I would love to put in my 170.
Oh yeah, it would be great. I mean, that's such a great solution. I mean, first they came out with the G5, which was pretty cool, but now just going into that 3-inch hole, what will they think of next?
Yeah, well, and then saving the labor costs. I mean, that's going to should get every aircraft owner's attention.
Yeah. Way to go, Garmin. Well, now from something small to something big. I mean, really big. In fact, you could call this one whale of an airplane. Sorry about that. The Airbus Beluga XL entered service last week. It's a modified, let's make that highly modified A330. It's big enough to carry 2 A350 wings at one time, and that's its job, to move the wings and other component parts from one production facility to another. And Airbus has released video of the first untethered city Airbus flight test. Yet another entry in the urban air taxi race. The 4-seat aircraft is all electric. It will be fully automatic or remotely piloted. It can fly for about 15 minutes at 75 miles per hour. Airbus apparently is going for the short haul market.
Last week it was Hyundai. This week it's Toyota that appears to be getting into the eVTOLs in the urban air taxi business. Joby Aviation says it's raised now some $720 million to launch an air taxi service. Toyota Motor Corporation most recently kicked in a big chunk, nearly $400 million. A Toyota executive will join Joby's board of directors. The company is developing a 5-seat, all-electric aircraft that's capable of vertical takeoff and high-speed forward flight. Joby says Toyota will contribute manufacturing, quality, and cost control expertise to the project. You could almost call it a giant drone. Bell just flew an almost completely autonomous test flight of the new V-280 tiltrotor. Bell created the aircraft for the Army to develop technology for future aircraft. The V-280 took off by itself, converted into cruise mode, navigated to waypoints, and converted back into vertical takeoff and landing mode to land, get this, without any pilot intervention. There were safety pilots on board who took over briefly between the movers. Man, I would have loved to have been one of those. The Army wants 2 new optionally piloted VTOL aircraft designs.
Well, with all of the emerging technology we've just shown you, there is a need for the next generation of aviators to operate and maintain them. Now, AOPA is helping to create young aviators. This year, we are once again offering more than 100 flight training scholarships. We have opportunities for high school students, teachers, primary flight training students, and even those looking to add advanced ratings or certificates. The scholarships range in value from $2,500 to $10,000, and they are making a big difference.
Our scholarships are important because it bridges the gap with aviation and passion. We have a lot of applicants who are eager to be in aviation and fly airplanes, and we're able to help them accomplish their goals and their dreams.
Scholarships are available thanks to generous donations to the AOPA Foundation from the James C. Ray Foundation and of course, members like you. You can apply now. There is a March 1st priority deadline, and the final deadline is March 15th. And you can find the application on our website.
Well, AOPA's fight against egregious user fees at airports continues. Now we're helping local pilots stand up for themselves in California. AOPA is supporting a local effort to bring sponsor-controlled parking to transient general aviation aircraft at Santa Barbara Municipal Airport. 2 FBOs currently control ramp access, and officials rejected an airport commission member's plan to create a parking area where aircraft that don't need FBO services could tie down. You can read more about the battle on our website. The FAA wants you to know before you go what to expect at a new airport. The feds are dropping 30 videos on YouTube this week. The series From the Flight Deck uses airplane point-of-view cameras and airport diagrams, and that lets you get familiar with airports you may not already know. Here's a bit from the Teterboro video.
Number 39, Quebec, left turn on Lima, cross runway 24.
Hotspot 1 is located at the intersection of Taxiway Lima and runway 624. Adding to the challenge of this intersection is the addition of intersecting Taxiway Hotel. Pilots have become confused while taxiing on Lima and have inadvertently crossed or taxied onto runway 624. The runway crosses a taxiway at an oblique angle, and the south side of the runway at this intersection is expanded to accommodate crossings at Taxiway Hotel. These characteristics may contribute to pilot confusion and lack of situational awareness at this location. Understanding taxi route clearances while knowing aircraft position will go a long way in eliminating this error.
Wow, that is something I'm going to have to start using. What a wonderful pre-flight tool. Now you can find these videos on the FAA YouTube channel.
Well, it's the time of year when a lot of pilots worry about ice, and as many of you instrument-rated pilots know, icing forecasts are notoriously broad and unreliable. So what if there were a way to narrow those forecasts to the places where you're really going to find real ice? Well, NASA has just started research that someday may lead to better ice forecasts, but they're starting right now with snow. This 3-year research project is flying out of NASA's Wallops Flight Facility on an island off the Virginia coast. Now, Wallops is probably best known for its rocket launches. The Antares launches out of Wallops, and they launch sounding rockets all the time. So I was pretty excited to get permission to land at Wallops. It's usually off limits to civilians. And I was excited to get an aerial view of the island and the launch facilities.
528 Mike Juliet, check wheels down, wind 0708, runway 10, clear to land.
8 Mike Juliet, wheels down and welded and clear to land.
Oh, well, I did see the runway.
Yeah, 528, welcome to Wallops, right off when able.
I'm here with a bunch of other media and social media types to learn about impacts. The investigation of microphysics and precipitation for Atlantic coast threatening snowstorms. Well, they work hard for their acronyms at NASA.
30 years ago, we had no idea that there would be any kind of storm or a nor'easter type storm at all. We could not forecast them at all. Now we have a much better handle on that, and we are now trying to understand why models sometimes tend to have errors such that they will underdevelop those storms or overdevelop them. We don't understand, model correctly the distribution of snowfall within the storm systems themselves.
Now, places that get a lot of snow seem to be below narrow regions in the clouds called snowbands. Scientists know snowbands exist, but don't understand exactly how they form or how to predict them. Impacts is going to try to figure that out. And if they can nail snow forecasts, the data may lead to better icing forecasts, too.
One of the measurements we'll be taking is super cool cloud liquid water. So we will find out when that is occurring inside these snowstorms, because we think that actually is a process that's important for the growth of snowflakes inside the snowstorms, which then also affects the icing that you're concerned about as a pilot.
So they're going to fly 2 aircraft into the heart of the snowbands, an ER-2 and a P-3 Orion, both loaded with all kinds of sensors.
This is a one-of-a-kind here that NASA flies, and has been upgraded obviously with the most recent digital architectures. but that they've cut a lot of holes into in the name of science.
Forecasters on the ground will tell the pilots where to go.
We'll be, all gathered up in this room and discussing the evolving weather situation. So the mission scientists over there are responsible for developing a flight plan, including where the ER-2 and the P-3 aircraft should fly, when they should fly and take off. And
they want to put the P-3 right in the heart of the snow bands, while the high-flying ER-2 will stack above the P-3, measuring the snow clouds from above.
And what we're trying to do is take the science desires, run it through can the airplane do it? Is it safe to do it? Filter in our brains built up from years worth of experience. Then translate that into pilot talk and pass those numbers and information up to the pilots so that they can respond. In their responding, they have to run it through ATC, air traffic control. And that doesn't, we're not always successful in getting what we want.
Mobile ground radars will be looking up into the clouds, and researchers will launch instrument-laden balloons up into the clouds as well, while crew aboard the P-3 will drop radio zones down into them.
Definitely will have a big impact on public safety. We'll be able to communicate to the public when to not be traveling out in adverse conditions. And maybe it'll help even with aircraft control planning and such like that.
And perhaps better icing forecasts for pilots, too.
November 528, Mike Juliet, runway 10 at Bravo, approximately 6,000 feet available, winds are 0706, clear for takeoff.
And I didn't get to see Wallops on the departure either, but no ice in those clouds.
8 Mike Juliet, altimeter 3011, contact departure, have a safe flight, sir.
Well, you can read more about the project on NASA's website. I have to tell you, Alyssa, it was a real geek fest for the weather types there.
I bet. I can't imagine, the NASA pilots, they fly great planes, but they must have nerves of steel. They fly into hurricanes, and now they're flying right into snowstorms.
Yeah, but they do say they don't take any real risks on it. I mean, yes, they fly into things that you and I wouldn't poke our noses into, but they also want to keep the airplane and the crew safe. So. But yes, it's incredible what they do, and the data is just going to be invaluable.
Yep, and then that'll help us out even more.
Indeed. Well, when we come back, heads up.
And they don't paint them like they used to. We'll be right back.
There are many important things to consider before purchasing an aircraft. Let the experts at Aerospace Reports help guide you through the process. We combine expert knowledge with our long-standing commitment to personalized customer service to perfect your transaction. Learn more at aerospacereports.com.
Welcome back. HeadUp Displays bring a major safety benefit to the cockpit, allowing pilots to look out the window and see the most important flight information right in front of them. Now, MyGoFlight is bringing the benefits of head-up displays to the lighter end of general aviation. AOPA pilot editor-at-large Tom Horn takes a look at the new Sky Display HUD.
Head-up displays, HUDs, are on several high-end biz jets, but now they're available to piston singles, turboprops, and light jets, thanks to MyGoFlight's Sky Display HUD. It's a retrofit unit with a compact display screen. It shows all the information those $500,000 HUDs show and can be used during visual and instrument flights as supplemental flight information. We met up at Denver's Centennial Airport to fly the new HUD in MyGoFlight's Cirrus. Taxiing out, you can quickly see the HUD's value. Every bit of information you need is right in your visual field, along with the view ahead. There's plenty of information, including V-speeds, the upcoming fix, plus course guidance, altitude, heading, wind speed, vertical speed information, and a pitch ladder. The V-shaped symbol represents the nose attitude. During the takeoff run, you'll see the magenta flight director cue and green flight path marker pop into view on the attitude indicator. Liftoff comes at 70 knots on the airspeed tape, so maneuver the flight director cue into the flight path marker and you'll be on course. Or put the jelly, the purple cue, into the donut, the green flight path marker. It's that easy to stay precisely on course. Now we level off at 7,500 feet. The flight path marker can also give commands to show the pre-selected altitude. Notice that the lower left portion of the display is changed to show fuel flow, manifold pressure, and ground speed. The marker is great for holding altitude in steep turns. Just keep the marker over the cue and you won't lose or gain altitude. On instrument approaches, the annunciator at top left shows when the nav information is coupled and CDI and glide slope information comes alive. Now for an RNAV GPS approach to runway 17 left. The glide slope is captured, and you'll notice that the display declutters, swapping out the HSI arc display for a CDI scale. Down we go, following the magenta cue's commands until the 6,023-foot MDA. At this point, we'd be able to see the approach lights or the runway environment while still having an efficient instrument scan. Then it's a missed approach, followed by a landing. You still have to use outside references to precisely fly to the touchdown zone, but precise course guidance is always at the ready. You can see that the HUD is easy to interpret and intuitive to use. And as an adjunct source of guidance, every bit as useful as the HUDs on Falcons or Gulfstreams. MyGoFlight is selling the Sky display for $25,000. So far, 19 owner pilots have signed up for it. If other high-tech developments like envelope protection, emergency descent mode, and autoland are any indication, it's a safe bet that MyGoFlight has set the stage for more HUDs in light GA airplanes in the very near future. Tom Horn, AOPA Live.
Well, there you go. The secret to this HUD, just put the jelly in the donut. You can find out more about the new HUD on the MyGoFlight website.
Well, here we go again. The United States military could be upsetting your navigation with GPS jamming. Again, it's happening in the southeast. Now, this map shows the widespread impact of the jamming. It's set to take place from January 16th through the 24th. It will be jammed for several hours each day. Navigation guidance, ADSB, and other services associated with GPS could be affected for up to 400 nautical miles at flight level 400, down to a radius of about 180 nautical miles at 50 feet above the ground. Now, if you find that jamming is causing a safety of flight issue, you can tell air traffic control, stop buzzer. ATC will tell the military to knock it off. And the tensions in the Middle East are making ripples all around the world, including here in the U.S. in general aviation. And just a reminder to maintain security awareness at general aviation airports. There are steps you can take to help keep us all safe. AOPA's General Aviation Security course will help get you up to speed on them. And remember, if you see something, say something. Lots of airports show AOPA's Airport Watch sign and the phone number you can call.
If you fly behind one of the big Continental 520 or 550 engines, listen up. There's a new mandatory service bulletin that might affect you, and that includes a lot of you who are flying Cirrus SR-22s. The service bulletin covers engines with cross-flow cylinder heads and requires an inspection to look for and remove casting material buildup. Continental made the service bulletin mandatory because few owners had complied with the original service bulletin. There's more information on our website. Well, can you believe it? We are just 6 months out from Oshkosh, and some groups are already getting set. This year is the 60th anniversary of the Piper Cherokee. A group called Cherokees to Oshkosh is looking to get 60 of the venerable low wings together for a mass arrival. If you're a Cherokee driver, they want to hear from you. Find them at Cherokees, 2, Osh.com.
Well, as we prepare to mark 75 years since VE Day, World War II military aircraft are in the spotlight. Now, back then, the brave aviators added character to their aircraft by naming them and painting the nose. Virginia artist Gary Velasco specializes in this unique niche of aviation history.
I am a nose artist. I paint vintage aircraft nose art, and my company produces replica nose art panels for the commercial market, for those that want to have a momentum of something that their grandfather or their dad or their uncle, loved ones did in World War II and further wars also, so they have something that looks like a piece of the airplane. Back in '96 is when I first started playing around and coming up with a few, about a dozen different designs: Memphis Belle, Enola Gay, Flying Tigers, Black Sheep, the household names that people were familiar with. And everything we do is based off of, for the most part, a specific panel on an airplane. And then I'll replicate it, scale it down, reproduce it, make my own blueprints, have the blueprints CAD'd, and then have the parts punched out. At a metal shop, we get them, then we rivet them and paint them and then put the artwork on it. The restorations, I get a lot of gratification out of it because it's flying. It's a flying, ambassador, if you will, of my work, and still preserving the history of nose art and promoting their organizations as well, too. I could not find, and nobody else either could find, how it started. The best answer that I can come up with to surmise is that in World War I, when squadrons started to form, when the aircraft was being developed from canvas to metal, the squadrons had their own insignia, and then they started applying the insignias to the airplanes. And then it just slowly got away to more personal aspects of personalizations of markings. And then in World War II, that we had the calendar girls. It was a little racy, and it got them thinking, of home, their girlfriend, their wives. So it was just a morale boost, and the brass didn't care. Let them do what they want. They may not be here tomorrow. I do think about how it would have been back then, and in times I put myself in their shoes. It's like, you had a mission to do, and you did it, and everybody was all for it, and there was no rubbing against the grain, really. Everybody, had, was gung-ho for the whole thing. I mean, it's crazy, right? It's nose art. It's just, half-naked women, but yet, there's a more emotional tie to it because, there was a war involved, as opposed to just going to an art gallery and seeing a painting. These are more like family heirlooms because they mean something more to the family member than it does to you and I. But we appreciate it a different way than the family member would, so it's very touching.
Well, you can read more about nose art in Julie Walker's article in the February issue of AOPA Pilot Magazine. And finally, at the end of every show, we ask you for your comments, either through email or in the YouTube comments section. And we read every one, and we do try to answer all of your questions directly. Now, you can see some of the comments on last week's show scrolling there beside me, and so many of you have been so gracious in welcoming Melissa to the show. And some of you asked, what happened to Melissa? Well, Melissa's last show was December 12th, and that's when we told you that Melissa has taken on a big new job. She's the executive director of the AOPA Foundation now, and it's a huge responsibility. The AOPA Foundation helps fund so many great programs like the AOPA Air Safety Institute and the You Can Fly program, and it's donations from pilots like you that makes all of that happen. Well, needless to say, Melissa has become even busier than she was before. But Melissa is still at AOPA, and you will see her occasionally in the near future. And so, once again, Melissa, welcome to AOPA Live.
Thank you. Thank you. It's a lot of fun bringing members the news, and as you mentioned, they have been so gracious and welcoming me to the show.
Indeed.
Well, that's our show for this week. Thanks for being part of it and for allowing me to be a part of it. Click that subscribe and thumbs up button.
Or use your thumbs to text us your thoughts. I think the millennials are better at that than I am. The address is there on your screen, and we'll see you back here next Thursday.